All right, welcome to Pass the Mic. Mike Pehody here, episode 38 for Friday, August 19th. Joining me, my good friend, Mr. Mike Gervasi.
Hey, shout out to my Friday thread crew. If you don't know, now you know. You know who that is. Oh, come on, man.
Nope.
It's Notorious B.I.G.
Oh, Biggie.
Biggie Smalls. Come on.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Just passed the 25-year anniversary in March of his assassination. Is it assassination or what is it? Murder?
I mean, murder. I mean, he was. I mean, I don't know. Are we going to get into semantics here? What's the difference between?
I think assassination is more political in nature. Although
I think that
Marley, it's called an assassination. So maybe
that's an interesting. That's an interesting point. Like, what's the determining factor?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you have to be a celebrity or of celebrity status.
Well, see, I got this up here right now. The legal definition, a murder by an assassin, but by an assassination, I understood a murder committed for hiring money without any provocation or cause of resentment given by the person against whom the crime is directed. I don't know.
Oh, man. Who knows? Who knows? You can't, an old English teacher trick, you can't use the vocab word in the definition.
That's true.
That's true. See, I haven't lost that much touch with the classroom. I still remember. I still remember that line. Well, in any case, we got some recap. We want to give some shout out to some fans. Denise Browning of that comments often on our page. President of the Gibraltar Kiwanis, leader of a great community organization, by the way. If you're in Gibraltar, if you want to join in, they meet every Tuesday. She backed me up on the TikTok a little bit. However, she said that she has her limited things. See, I make the mistake of and this is, again, you don't know this, but all our TikTok people, there's a follower tab, right? So those are only the people you follow, you're going to see their videos. But then there's also the For You tab where they take the algorithms and dumb me, what do I always go to? I go to the For You tab, which is this never ending stream of.
It's a rabbit hole.
It is literally a hole that it never ends. Yeah. And her bit of advice was stick to the follower ones, and that way you're only going to get the stuff from people that you specifically follow. Because I haven't followed like a ton of people on there, but so I appreciate that point. Mr. Pack from Hunter Elementary, one of our colleagues,
Shout out to the Gymboree crew. We used to go to Gymboree together with our kids.
Oh yeah, Hunter Hornet, right? Hunter Hornet staff. He has an incoming 9th grader, student council member. So he probably took some interest, but he always has nice things to say about the episodes as well. So we always love the feedback there. And again, we hopefully we helped out a good amount of 9th grade students that are about to start up.
Got a lot of feedback here, positive on the 9th grade thing. My good friend Dennis, who was mentioned last week, he's actually lobbying now to get on the show because he can offer insights as to an educator in TikTok, how it could be beneficial.
Is that the teacher? Is that the teacher you mentioned that has?
Yes.
Okay. There are. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes, but he loved it. But I took some heat now for the Facebook comments. There was a couple of a person who shall remain unmentioned because she gets enough mentions on the show, really took some slightly politely, of course, criticized me a little bit on the thread. I took some text message heat. So
what was the comment for our non-Facebook
I'm friends? Sorry about the Facebook first day of school posts.
Oh, the pictures. Yes.
Lots of folks love that.
And then I shared the one picture of the gremlin.
Yes.
Listen, I get it. And I don't mind it. I don't, it is what it is. It's, there could be worse things. Like I said, I go to Facebook for dog stuff and restaurants that are locally maybe having a deal, but then I start seeing people trying to post fake news and why.
And just remember, there was a fake news one yesterday, but overrated does not mean bad. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
exactly. We've said that since episode 1, I believe.
Right.
We've said that since the Halloween candy. That might have been I think that might have been our first overrated, underrated. So, do you have a mic for us this week?
I do. It's actually an author from Detroit. His name is Michael Eric Dyson. I have him on Facebook. As I'm a follower, he's a very prominent author that has written extensively on a lot of different things. He's a very powerful social commentator, writes actually for those old school rap fans, writes a lot about old school rap, has written extensively about Tupac and Biggie and all, lots of stuff. He's certainly not just a rapper, and he looks at the social implications of the rap. But my mic is Michael Eric Dyson, just a brilliant writer, speaker, phenomenal. So Michael Eric Dyson, shout out to you.
So nonfiction.
Nonfiction, yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. Speaking of authors and books, did you see former President Obama? He does his like summer music list, his summer book list. He did a summer book list, and Chris Herring's Blood in the Garden.
Really, I didn't know that.
Made that list, and he was tweeting about how exciting that had to be for him. Obviously,
yeah.
I took that. I was finishing it because remember I started in Europe, and sometimes this happens with me in books. And where was I? Somebody was asking me about it, and why I picked it up, being because we were localized. I got a doctor's office, and I pointed out that once the Pistons were done, and that was sort of like my team at that point. Like
I mean, they were Bad Boys Part 2, right? The other part that's cool, apparently they're doing a Netflix. I don't know if we talked about this before. They're doing a Netflix documentary based upon the book of those Knicks teams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's nice to have somebody besides the Lakers getting some sort of,
or the Bulls.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, the bit again. You mentioned last week, right? Guess what my wife was watching last night as I was getting ready for bed? The Netflix special on Woodstock, and I had to point out that don't forget there's a HBO one too. I still need to start the Netflix one.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about that too. I forgot about that.
All right, so education this week, as I was looking around at various sites, lots of news stories around the nation about the teacher shortage, or these districts having a very difficult time filling teaching positions. Houston ISD down in Texas is having a very difficult time. I read somewhere that like Milwaukee schools having a difficult time. Florida, and a lot of proposed solutions in these different states. And I thought this would be a great topic that we could give our thoughts on the teacher shortage. Now, way back, I think it was in our first episode with a guest, with Miss Crampton, we talked about ways to get more younger people involved into teaching. Really didn't talk about the shortage, just that there is less and less young people going into the programs. That's a statistical fact. I don't have the chart to put up behind me on a green screen, but here in Michigan, compared to when you and I went to school, compared to and also what's surprising, or I guess not, I talked to like one of our former students that helps coach football now, Frank Gomez, junior. He's going to Eastern, and I was talking to him at a grad party this summer. And I remember back when we went to Eastern, they had any program that you wanted to get a teaching cert in, they had it. They offered it, because Eastern, that was their thing.
Right.
And I was surprised talking to him, and I don't want to misspeak or misquote, because I don't exactly. There were certain programs that they didn't offer it as a major any longer in education. Like you could get a minor in it, or you could, or you could do this other thing, but this certain, and again, more of the, obviously not like English but some of the elective fields. And back in the day, remember, you could get a teaching cert in anything from Eastern.
Yeah, right.
And so these universities now are saying, well, we don't have, if you don't have tons of kids going into the program, it's a matter of funding. We're not going to do it. So that's what we're going to talk about. We also want to talk about some of these, and we're going to stay apolitical here, but some of these possible solutions that are being thrown around. So what are your thoughts on the shortage? How have things changed since you started to now, and what are possible ways that you see that could possibly help this, or solve this, I should say, not help it?
It's really, really tricky. I remember talking to an old neighbor of mine when I lived in a different city, and she had a degree, and she was kind of asking if she could. So her degree was in the medical area, and she asked if she could mix in a couple classes so that she could homeschool her son. And the way she threw in the mix in, it was almost like, maybe can I go back for a couple classes? And it was almost denigrating the amount of work we put in to become teachers. I think it's a cultural issue that everybody feels like they can just do it. Even family members from time to time will make those comments. So I think it becomes a cultural issue in a sense that you could just stick anybody in front of the classroom and they always become a glorified babysitter. So the idea now is it's such an easy job, anybody can do it. And the level of disrespect towards educators, and this is not just toward teachers, we see this time and again. In fact, there was another one this weekend where a coach, and I consider coaches to be educators as well, was murdered. at a 9-year-old football game. And I think it's just the notion now that anybody can do these jobs, because whether it's teaching, or coaching, I watch ESPN, so I know what I'm doing. These are very difficult jobs. I'm not here to tell you how great I am or anything like that, but they are not easy. It's not easy to get 30 people interested in the age of industrialization, so to speak. So I think that's where it starts. I think it's the cultural idea that this is something that anybody can do. And so it kind of starts with parents and their attitudes towards teachers and coaches, and for that matter, police officers and authority figures in general. And then it filters down. I also think that there's been we've sort of talked about this, there's been a anti-intellectual current in our society recently. When we were in school in the 90s, it was, you have to go to college to make something of yourself. And obviously that wasn't true. There's plenty of people who are successful without college. So that's a antiquated notion. But now it's sort of, the pendulum is flipped. I watched this show on a Friday night, pretty religiously, called Real Time with Bill Maher. And he made the statement the other day, you don't need college at all. And it was sort of like, agree with that. And I don't agree with that either. I mean, it's person to person, but to blanketly say you have to have college, again, that's an antiquated notion. To blanketly say you don't need college at all. It's person to person. Yeah, some people don't need college depending on what they're going to do. And I'm viewing that from the perspective of the views towards education, how it has become almost diminished in a lot of ways. And this then filters into our classrooms, right? And how students sometimes view education and what we're teaching and things like that. So unfortunately, it's a broad stroke what I'm saying. I don't even know if it's possible, but I think the attitudes have to change on a personal micro level.
I think your point about, first of all, I look at like our colleagues, like even the elementary school, and we both have bachelor's degrees or graduate degrees. I could never do what they do.
Never.
I could not. Their talent to me of how they can handle that group, or like we said, we've gone to camp before with that, and that was the upper L. Like I remember going to like field days and this sort of thing, and the methods and the classroom management that these individuals have, all at the same time of, almost being like a parent at certain points, when they're that young, is something that I don't have the background or knowledge to do. And I have my bachelor's in education and 2 graduate degrees in education. And I could not, if you drop me into an elementary, especially a lower elementary classroom, I could not succeed. I would not succeed in my job. I mean, I would, and that's what is amazing to me when we look at some of these states of saying, well, our solution is going to be people that didn't finish the program, but we'll just drop them in there, and eventually down the road they have 5 years to get a certificate. Okay, I couldn't imagine that. I wouldn't want my kids in that classroom. And again, it's not to downplay this. I mean, if you were at the dentist and the hygienist was cleaning your teeth, and again, I could never be a hygienist. They're trained, they do a great job of what they're doing, but also the hygienist says to you, oh, by the way, there's a shortage of dentists. I'm in this program. Since I clean teeth, they're going to send me back to school, but I'm going to take care of this filling you have too. Let me get the drill. I don't think anyone would stay in that chair.
No.
I don't think definitely not if you were getting rolled into an operating room and they're like, oh, by the way, the cardiologist is out, but we have a nurse that has some cardiology experience. She's going back to school. Any other field, this would be ridiculed.
That was a pilot,
Yeah. You're sitting there and like a flight attendant says, hey, we're short pilots today, but I'm going to be in the second seat. Like no other career does this.
I've watched for some, so I could do it.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been on tons of flights, but for some reason, education is like, well, we'll give it a try. Nobody else wants. They don't look at the problem as being why nobody wants to do it. They just say, okay, we'll just lower the standards a little bit, and that'll get more people in. Now, again, I have no problems with a program that says, hey, you have 60 credit hours done. You want to work and sub in a building, and we'll build up your thing, and then we'll put you in as a certified teacher. I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, the more ways you can get people in, I know the Florida method is people that have served in the military, which is again, they don't have the degree done. So fine, if you want to like say, okay, you can be like, a roving building sub or whatever, and then, go back to school and get the certificate. I have no problem with that. I mean, there's more ways to get it done, but what's the purpose of these education training programs for any of these people? And then like in some place, like they're saying college students in Arizona, Well, we do that as student teachers. We all do it in that semester. But like, what about all those kids that are like in the program? Like, so why even bother? I think a lot of it goes to, and if you talk to like our younger students, our high school students that are moving on, it's just the whole idea of, why would I go take out loans and pay for this when it's not even the pay issue? Yes, the pay at the start, because let's just be honest, Mike, the pay at the start is low.
Right.
It's very low. But if you make it long into the career, and if you go get a advanced degrees, your pay becomes pretty good.
Yes,
now, granted,
yes.
you have graduate degrees, but the early pay is really, compared to like what others come out with a full 4-year degree, is pretty insulting. It's pretty, and that's just the way it is. I don't know what, there's no way around it and hiding it, especially in this era of the gig economy where people can go and do something totally on their own, create something, make something, sell it, work as the way prices are in restaurants and bars. If you get a full-time job at a pretty good restaurant or bar, you're making more than a first-year teacher.
Yeah, and there was a local school, when I was struggling for a job. Now, granted, this is about 18 years ago, but when I was struggling to find a job, I almost took a job at a local private school that I won't name. And I want you to think about people can look this stuff up, what a starting salary is, and almost cut that in half. And that's what the starting salary is.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Here's the problem with the teaching shortage too, and this is the worst kept secret in the world, right? Public schools, if they can't find someone in the general pool, where are they hiring them from? They're hiring them from charter schools and private schools.
Right.
90% of the people want out of those schools. And again, I'm not knocking charter schools as far as quality. I'm just being honest with what with what it is. They are looking to get into a public school because the conditions are better, the pay is better, and that's what normally happens. Now, you do have a devoted population that wants to work in that area, or it's not, they're fine with that, and that's totally fine. But most people, that's how a lot of our hires recently, right, have come from that area. But eventually, the key number is there's not a lot of the key number here in Michigan is the fact, if you look at like our seniority list, 2/3 of us are on the back half, right? The last third of our career, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
The numbers are not there to replace.
Right.
They're just not there. It may not be now, but it's always been on the fringes with certain degrees and certain programs, special ed and some of the sciences and math, because STEM, if you have a STEM degree, why wouldn't you go work in the private sector? Your pay is doubled. You're not jumping through 15 hoops a year. They're not making laws about you in Lansing. You show up and do your work and they pay you well. That's, what a novel idea. But eventually that's spreading beyond the fringe. We know it's starting to hit like the areas where we used to say, social studies and English, it's bloated. Well, guess what? It's not so bloated anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And like I said, my daughter just graduated this year. There were not a lot of people going into education. So again, and the programs themselves, the programs at the colleges are just like any other business, right? If there's not a demand for it, what are they going to do?
Right.
They pull back on those areas. What do you think? Obviously barring the easy one of pay, we talked about what to you, if you had a dream scenario, if you were like the supreme ruler of Lansing, okay, you didn't have to worry about something passing the House and the Senate. What would you change for and we did this sort of as a topic before, but it was sort of like on anything because we did testing, we did all this, but just for the fact of making the job more attractive, what would your proposal be? Because we talk about these fast track programs, and then we also talk about, I think, and again, if I'm wrong, correct me, but my source that Wayne State is now, you have to do 2 semesters of student teaching, right? Like
I believe so, yes.
So not only are student teaching, as we both said before, it's a necessary. I think you need to do it because it determines if this is really for you. But do you need 2 semesters of it? I don't believe so. I think 1 semester is a perfect amount. So, but they're doing stuff like this at a time when we're trying to get people in. By the way, one thing that did change, and I don't know if you know this year, student teachers, I believe, are getting paid. They passed something in this education budget that student teachers will be compensated. For those that don't know, as a student in the past, you'd pay your tuition bill, usually about 12 hours, whatever that equated to at the time, or whatever, and then you'd go work in a school literally full time for 14 weeks, right? That's a college semester, 14, and your pay was $0, 0.00. You paid to do it. But I heard this year in the education bill that they're getting paid. So that's a little thing that the state did, both Republicans and Democrats, it's an education bill to sort of say, hey, we got to make this more enticing. We have to get people to want to do this instead of them paying to do this. Let's at least a little something. So any thoughts you have on that?
I get, in general, I think, we're living, obviously, the word is postmodern. We're living in a postmodern world. So without going too deep into the specifics, because I think we could be here for a while, we are still on an education model, even though we've added technologies that is, it's outdated, right? I mean, there's no question about it. We're still doing a lot of the things on an industrial model, even the notion of summer vacation, which I love, but it's kind of a thing of the past. I think that might be something to start where you update the education model to sort of fit the 21st century needs of students, educators alike. I probably would start there. And again, I don't want to go too deep into the specifics. We have added technologies. We are at least sort of looking in that direction, but it's a really hard, it's a snowball that has just grown and grown and grown. And to get that to push that back uphill, to push that boulder back uphill is really, really difficult, especially since it is an area where our parents went on this model, their parents went on this model. It's everything that we know. So to change that really is to change a lot of attitudes. But I think I would start with that. Let's be a little bit more forward looking with this.
Yeah, modernize the profession as a whole, modernize, how it's done and run. If like I said, and this is like a fantasy wish, if I could make a wish, I would put something out there that the one classroom or the one school district or the one teacher you hear about on a news channel in some random part of the country is not the way every teacher operates.
Right.
And you don't need to like come to the board office and complain because you feel are being brainwashed or anything like this. The one little random story you hear, and it goes, we've talked about this before. A police officer, a doctor, a community member will do 100 great things. 100 of them will do great things. And then there's one person from one of those groups that does something atrocious. And that's what's all on the news. And then you associate that person with that profession. And we seem to get it, us and police officers seem to get it the worst of the worst. If one bad representative of our profession does it, it's all of us. And we need to fix all of these people.
Right,
and that,
right.
And so laws get passed or work conditions get changed. And then all of a sudden, it's funny, I mentioned, but we sort of partner up with police officers, and the fact that once these work conditions start getting bad, what do you always hear? We can't find people that want to do this job.
Right.
And again, and I don't blame them at all.
Right.
I saw the other day that Woodhaven was hiring a patrol officer, and they're in the package looked pretty enticing, looked pretty good. And it must have to be to get people because, we talked to people here in Gibraltar. These are small, safe communities where, I'm sure. And again, that doesn't mean that the job isn't hard. I'm not saying that. And they're having trouble. And it's because why? Because you could go and do your job perfect for 30 years. And then one other person that you have no reaction to or relation to could tarnish what it is. And then all of a sudden, all these laws and rules change according to you. And this was nothing that you had to do with. And you say, I'm done with this. And for some reason, that's why it happens to our two professions more so than any other. I don't get it. What this one bad person did over here is not how we do things here.
Right.
And again, we've worked here a long time with a lot of people, and do I agree or love every person that I work with throughout all those years? Obviously not. I mean, I'd be, I'd be lying. But do I ever feel that anyone that I worked with was to the point of being criminal or brainwashing or absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's a lot of people. And I just wish I could dispel that myth. We're too quick to just jump on and part of that is the media trying to make this out and again, I'm not downplaying anyone that has been mistreated or treated poorly. I totally understand. That's awful. But for the most part, if we could just suspend that, and again, I don't know what it is. If you go to a place and there's a bad doctor, you just go find another doctor. You don't think every doctor is awful. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, or you get ripped off by a certain contractor. You don't. I guess car dealers get that associated with them too, right? Mechanics.
That's true.
Yeah, like every mechanic. But there are most people are out there for the good. So that would be my thing, because more so than anything, because we have teachers, senior teachers that were making good. It wasn't about money. They were very happy with what they were being paid, right? But it became to the point of the money wasn't worth the headaches.
Right.
So that's the big problem.
Yeah.
For years, it was always the money, and the money has gotten better, or the money gets better as you do your stuff. But the problem is the headaches have also gone
Yeah, the
up.
headaches have gone way up.
And all of a sudden, these young people, I don't know why I get this every time we do this. But the headaches have gone up, and people are like, this isn't worth my time. I'm a professional. I don't need this. I'm moving on. So, that's what and again, I don't know what the solution is to that. I don't know what the solution is, because younger people, and the younger people that work on our staff, they're not back when we got hired, it was like, oh man, I'm in, I'm not going anywhere. And then you sort of get locked into that.
Right.
But then it's now twofold. The younger people aren't that concerned about that.
Right.
There are other things that they're going to go do, that they can do. They're willing to move.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people, there's like a whole Carlson contingent down in Nashville now, people are not afraid to move. And the problem all on the back end is we're getting to the age of, like, once we hit that 30 years of credit, and I hit it in November, you're also a free agent. I'm like, okay, I don't need to do this 40 years. I don't need to do this till I'm 65. I have a college degree. I have money saved up. I'll go off and do this. And that's going to be the double whammy that hits. Because it used to be you always had this group held in. Now you're going to have two groups that are like, so long.
The state of Michigan is going to definitely have, because you think about when we were in college, the schools of ed were full. They're going to have an issue with our age bracket really soon, and they're going to have to figure something out.
And what we're having more so, the only time you left a school district here in Michigan, if you were in a district, was probably going to admin, right? You'd rarely have somebody that left a teaching spot to go to a teaching spot, because, well, now that I'm telling you, I saw over the summer spots. There's some spots in Allen Park. People left the local district to go over there. We had a couple here. Like, people are not afraid to leave, and districts are willing. They're not no longer saying we'll go back to step one. They're like, where were you? We'll put you here. We need a body.
Yeah.
And that's something that definitely was not the way in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. So, like I said, I think it goes beyond money. It goes beyond making the profession attractive, making it be less piled on and less hoops to jump through. I think that's your starting points to make it be something that people want to do, because at this point, it's getting to the point of almost like beating your head into the wall. And I think people are going to leave earlier and earlier. I think that the 40-year employee that's in their mid 60s, that is that's gone. That's gone. So we'd love to hear your thoughts, those of you that are in education, especially young people that are going into it. We asked before, maybe the three of you that are out there that are listening, we would love to hear, and again, there are people, I've talked to them, some of, there's classmates of Chloe's, they're excited. That's the best thing to hear. The good news for them is hopefully the market's pretty good, and
absolutely,
they can find things. So I guess that's the positive in it. So overrated, underrated this week. We have not done food in a while, and
man, you're gonna take some heat.
Well, it's been a while, and I was in the summer. First of all, this food we're going to do, it's down around where whenever you're in a pinch and like it gets late and you don't know what to get, it always seems to be the go-to, right? So I thought we'd do local pizza places, overrated, underrated. I believe we're very blessed here in Southeast Michigan, and I don't think people that live elsewhere don't realize how blessed we are, that we have such a variety of pretty good pizza places. Like, my sister-in-law moved to Iowa, just out of Des Moines, and I remember when they first moved, they said there was not much of anything out there, and it was just like chain, like a local pizza place was a novelty, and that's something we have here. A lot of places that aren't chains, and so I think sometimes we forget how good we have it with all the different varieties. We have our own nation, people, for those, a little history lesson, right? We have our own nation style of pizza, Detroit style, that came from the auto pan, style, the deep dish, the corner pizza. So Detroit's a pretty good well-known pizza town. So I want to know and again, we're going to definitely preface this with not being bad. What is your overrated local pizza location? Can be a chain, can be a mom and pop place. What's your overrated? I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, you know what? I have two. Is that okay?
I'll let you have two. That's fine. We haven't done food in a while.
So. And it's really because one of the overrated. Let me start with the overrated. I'm not sure if this is even overrated anymore. I'm going to start with Pizza Hut. Okay. I always say I don't know if it's overrated anymore, because it seems like they're falling by the wayside pretty fast.
They're not as prevalent as they used to be.
Yeah, I used to love going as a kid, but I thinking back on why I loved going, I don't think it had anything to do with the pizza. It was the ambiance. They had a Pac-Man video game there.
The all-you-can-eat pizza bar.
Yeah, the pizza bar in high school, you can eat all the pizza you want, right? And we go there a lot of times on half days in high school. The glasses were unique and how what they served their pop in. That was kind of cool. But it never really was about the pizza itself. But again, I think that's now, I don't think it's overrated anymore. So maybe that's one that's more for the early 2000s. My overrated now, and again, I'm stressing overrated is not bad, but I just don't, I don't think it's, the bang for the buck, so to speak, I don't think it's very good. I'm going Jets. I don't think Jets is
Oh,
as good as, I'm not a big fan. It's not awful. I'll eat it. I like it better than certain places, but I am just in terms of how it's rated. You know, the commercial says voted the best pizza in town or something like that. I'm not a fan. So I'm going overrated Jets.
Jets, good ranch at Jets.
So
I don't.
everybody's honest. I'm not a ranch
I think
fan.
again, I think when you talk about Jets, you talk about it not being bad, and it is pricey. It is expensive. I mean, you really gotta if you're having a party or something, you're really gonna be paying out. Like if you go for just your family, you can pull it off. But I mean, like it's an expensive pizza. Um, Man, my overrated is also a local place, and again, I actually had some of this just this last week, and it actually was better than I imagined it was going to be. But I'm still going to put it as overrated. Is Little Caesars. I don't. I try to avoid it at all costs. Like I haven't bought it personally for pizza night. I can't remember. My wife used to get it here and there. Um, the crazy bread I'm okay with, but the pizza itself, I have never been a fan. I don't know what it is. Um, Even like when people say, hot and ready's $5 or whatever they are now, thanks to Uncle Joe. Um, I don't want, I don't like it. Is it awful? Like it's not again, not terrible, not bad, but I just think it's overrated. It's everywhere because it's a nationwide chain, and they have their they actually, when you think about Jets and Little Caesars, a Little Caesars night is much cheaper than a Jets night, right? Like they know their market and they hit
Yeah.
it well. They're never professing to be the best. They're professing to be hot, ready,
Yeah.
and low cost. So, but for me, overrated. Like I said, I'm going to pass on it 9 out of 10 times.
Okay.
What
That's fair.
what's your underrated?
All right, so I want to give a plug to a local non-chain first. I think it's so good. I love going there. Roma's in Southgate. It is
Mhm.
amazingly good pizza. The sauce is so sweet. I just think they do a wonderful job. So that's my first underrated because it's local and it's not a market. But I am going to go on a chain for my other one. This is another one that's dwindling, and man, I love it so much. I used to drive to Allen Park to get it. Papa Romano's to me is really, really good. We do have one in the gas station now
Yeah,
locally,
they just put it in there in Brownstown.
and I believe it's a Carlson family that is either directly owning it or indirectly, like cousins or something like that. But it is, I love it. I love their square pizza. It was such a disappointment to me when the Trenton one closed. I think the Hot and Ready's actually push them out of business because you can't beat a $5 pizza. So in terms of price, I'm with you on quality, but $5 is $5. So I just love Papa Romano's, and it's really disappointing to see how much their numbers are dwindling. So those are my two underrated.
Yeah, that is a new one, and it's in the gas station at Allen or Veland and Fort, right?
Leland for it, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I got two underrated, and I don't even know. Like, it's hard to say if these are underrated because um, I think, well, the one for sure is the Rock down here in Flat Rock, part of Salute special event. We've had our Christmas party there. They have pizza through all their locations. It's a nice thin, not like thin crust total where it's flat because it has like a crust, but it's a very, I guess, New York style almost. Uh, Very good pizza. It's my wife's favorite. I'll go there often. They have different unique pizzas too. And again, it's a local place. I think it's really good. And then I don't know, have you ever had out of Eastern Market Supino pizza?
I have.
What I That's definitely New York style because it's even the bigger, and it's the same sort of pizza, flat, but with a crust. They put Parmesan in with the, mostly it's mozzarella,
Yes.
and they do a little Parmesan in there as well, and it's just a great little touch.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time my wife brought it home because she works downtown, and they have like a pretty good deal
Oh,
on
yeah. I didn't
Wednesdays.
realize that. Okay.
And man, I always, my favorite days are when she's, because it's hard for us, obviously. Down here, you're not going to drive into Eastern Market to get a
No,
pizza,
that's why
right?
I was wondering where you would
Yeah,
like.
no, you leave, my wife works out of the Motor City Casino, and every once in a while she'll be like, "Hey, I'm bringing home Sapinos, and it's delicious,
Mhm.
underrated. If you're ever downtown, and you want some good pizza, that is a great pizza, and it has the, like I said, it has a little touch of Parmesan. I didn't even, I had to go look it up because I'm like, I go, tastes like there's Parmesan in here, and I looked it up, and sure enough, so two great places. One if you're
Good one.
downriver,
Good one.
and one if you are downtown to definitely check out. Have you checked out the place in Melvindale, Freddie the Pizza Man's place?
I have
That's supposed to
not.
be like one of the best. That I got to try that too. He's on Twitter. He's it's supposed to be the best around, but
That is a
I
pizza
haven't gotten
man.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, check it out.
All right.
All right, hot mic take for the week. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, so I'm going to use this hot mic take as a chance to plug. It's Friday when this comes out, so obviously it's one day before the annual Simpsonian run. What year is this now?
20th. I think it's the
20th.
20th, right? 20th.
I believe it is. Yes. So the 20th annual Simpsonian run. It's kind of our lead into the school year. It's a 5K, or there's a mile run if you want to do that. You could walk. But it's done. It's an amazing job done by, Max Bailey works it. You work it along with your partner in the Dumb Owl. What do you guys call it?
The wise owl, Mr.
Wise
Rice,
Owl. My fault.
Dr.
My
Rice.
fault. Dr. Rice. Dr. Rice. Yeah, it's my fault. That was a total accident. Bill Stevenson, former principal at Carlson, Mike Quinn, all the gang is there. Although Quinn's not going to be there this year, right? Was that verified?
Mr. Ray Geis and
Ray Geis, yes.
Jim Okler, athletic director at Grosio.
So yeah, and it's kind of a joint, Grosio Carlson production. We get a lot of students to do it. It is a fun time. They have all sorts of prizes. The Pate family, I guess I mentioned them again. They always say I win. So apparently, I don't feel like I win ever, but they think I do. But it's
Hey, did you go to that? Did you go to, I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you go to the dinner? Do you want a gift card to, like, what was the name of that place?
Oh God, I can't remember.
A very nice place on the island. So
really nice. Yes, it was really good. Man, I'm sure Max Bailey will drop that one on us. But so as a segue into what I want to talk about, I want to hear from people. So, I get my headphones on because the 5K, first off, I had this injury a year ago and I'm a little slower now. So to stay motivated during a 5K run is not easy. It's not easy anyway, but really is not now for me. And I need like some pump up stuff. So one of the things I standard music, Rage Against the Machine always gets me going. A little Tupac, some of the old school tunes that I sing to you that you think about Color Me Bad as I'm saying them. So I want to know from the listener, what music or movie themes, songs, whatever, pump you up. I like to use one of the things that really can push me through. There's a scene from the movie Rocky Balboa, which, if you're counting, that's the sixth Rocky, where he gives a speech to his son. Okay. You could Rocky Balboa speech on YouTube. I use it actually in one of my classes to kind of teach a lesson. But nonetheless, and then there's actually a song that a YouTuber put out with Rocky Balboa, his speech mixed with the DMX song, and it gets my heart. I get pumped up when I hear that. Sometimes it'll push me through. That speech along with the DMX song sort of combined. So I want to know from the listener, maybe you could post this on our page. What song do you use, or what movie quote, what movie line, because I'm going to be running this Smithsonian and I'm going to be tired. I'm telling you, when I get to that 20-minute mark, I'm going to want to quit. I need something. So I want to know from the listener, what song or movie quote something.
Well, you need more songs, because the movie quote's not going to help you in your headphones on Saturday. Listen,
maybe a quote won't, but a part of a movie. If I listen to that Rocky part, I don't need the DMX thing helps, but I can just listen to that Rocky part. There's other ones too. The speech in Rudy, where Charles Dutton gives
maybe the speech when Principal Joe Clark throws everyone out of the auditorium. And
I don't know how that's going to pump me up, but okay, that too.
Pump you up.
Yeah. So I want to know from the listener what could get me through the Simpsonian, because I'm telling you, it's a hard run, and as I'm getting older and I have more injuries, it's really getting difficult. So I need your help. I need the listeners' help. Talk me through, or post what can get me through.
Excellent. There you go. You've got the request. This is going to come out 6 a.m. on Friday, which I understand for Apple, it takes a little because of the video attached. I upload them well earlier in the week, but the whole kicking it out takes a little longer. So I can mention names. I saw Miss Pate Friday morning walking early, and she's like, "Where's the podcast?"
Yeah.
And it didn't drop until like 6:33. And it's something to listen. I have it ready to go at 6. It is what it is. Quick note on the Sims run: you can, if you're listening to this Friday morning, you can show up and register on site. You can probably do it online. Run, I forget the name of the site. I'm awful now, but I think there's a sign up online. But they do have on-site registration. I think the fun run is at 8 a.m. at Groseal High School, and then the 5K 8:30 or 9, somewhere in there. But get there early. Obviously, if you aren't registered. Personal note: when I got my first varsity coaching job in the spring of '98, coaching boys track and field, Steve Sims was in the midst of his legendary career as a girls track coach there, one of the most respected guys in the downriver area. And here I was, a 22, 23-year-old doofus. I sort of backed into. Nobody else. It was one of those things. Nobody else wanted the job. They're hosting the regional meet. I have no clue what's going on. And track and field and cross country coaches. Here's the thing about them. And I can speak to this because I am one. They are like, woe is us. Okay. Woe is us. Why does football get all the attention? Woe is us. And I am not like that. I understand the way things work out. It's not saying that these kids don't work any harder or whatever, but listen, man, it's just track. That's Mr. Bailey and I's thing. Like, let's get out there and get it done. And sometimes when you go to some of these guys, if you had a question or something, you would have thought it would be like, like a middle school football coach asking Nick Saban for advice on a play, the way these guys treated you. But Steve Sims was never like that from year one. Like he talked to me, treated me with the utmost respect, helped me, gave me information, made me a better coach. And he was the best girls track coach in the Huron League. Like he could have been like all these other guys, and he never was. And that says a ton. To me, that says a ton. And it's a great, the money goes to a scholarship for an outstanding female athlete at Groseal High School. And it's a great time, great prizes. So, and I just want to say why I'm still attached to it after all these years. And I don't run my programs like that. So if there's a young cross country or track or field coach that has a question, I'll be happy to help them out. But if you start annoying me and start doing stuff like measuring my course or complaining about a flag placement, you're done. You're persona non grata, and you can go hang out with some of the other schools and complain about uniforms. Oh, there's certain schools that, that it's not just cross country or track, that they feel as if they're training the next marathon runner. So, but enough of that. I'm not here to slander anybody. Yeah. My hot mic take for the week. So last week, if you remember, my mic was Michael Hutchins, and I wasn't really well prepared with my music. I got the song wrong. So, I decided, I'm like, okay, I want to go see what song, and this is just one of my things of the amazing world of online, like how things have changed for us to now. So I'm like, I want to know which song it was specifically in, the movie, which I didn't even have the movie, right? So the movie was Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, 2014. Steve Carell. Yeah. It's about a situation where everything just goes wrong, tongue-in-cheek comedy, whatever. Sure. So the song was Need You Tonight by In Excess.
Okay.
But so what happens is I find this website, what-song.com, and what you do is you go and enter a song name, or I guess you could search it. It's basically a database, and you type in a song name or type in a movie name or TV show, even episode, and it will list.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
So I went and said In Excess. The way I got to it was In Excess songs in movies, and I found this site, and so the page is right behind my screen right now. But the way the page is set up is like, so it says where you heard it. Need You Tonight. It's in 4 movies and 6 TV episodes. By the way, Euphoria, the big show on HBO Max, they use In Excess quite a few times. I've never watched it by the kids. It's all hip with them, but it lists every movie, every TV show, every episode, and then sometimes they give the scene. So like for mine, it was when the Australian cowboys start dancing at Alexander's birthday party. But it's just really a cool. So like, how many times have you been watching a movie or something like that, and you hear something, and now this is a great way where you can go, and then you just click it, and it will take you to Apple Music, Spotify. You can hear the song. That's a really cool site. So what-song.com. I know people like, that's something I do all the time. I don't know about you, but if I'm watching a movie or a TV show and I hear a certain song, and now I know, of course, there's apps too. Like you can literally like open the app and listen to it, but maybe you didn't do it at the time. And you're like, in our case, we were thinking back, just what a pretty cool tool. And again, I'm a
Sure.
dorky librarian, so this sort of, in a way, this is a database, right, of stored stuff.
Yeah.
But somebody takes the time to do all this and logs it. So anytime there's a song in a movie or TV show there, what-song.com, I was able to accurately go find my information, get the right song, get the movie name correct, and then realize that in excess, they still, in recent stuff like 2019, 2020, these shows aren't like, we're not talking
Right.
just back, it's cool to see all this. Again, we sort of talked about that with the TikTok too. Like a lot of these songs that were, it used to be once a song was done, it was done, and now they're back. Everything
for sure.
everything's back. Maybe that's because new music's so bad.
Get off my lawn.
All right, so what are you leaving us with this week? Nothing. I mean,
a couple things. First, the Tigers fired Al Avila.
shocker.
I'm not for guys getting fired, but in this case, I mean, it's long overdue. Chris Illich certainly passed the buck, so to speak, on blaming Avila for some of the trades, and he had to sign off. But man, they are 30 games under 500, 30 plus now. So the rebuild
probably going to hit 100 losses.
Yeah, probably going to hit 100 losses. So we're going to be rebuilding again. So another long drawn out Tigers rebuild is about to begin again. That's the first thing. I just wanted to point that out. So thank God football season is here. Hard Knocks, pretty cool episode last week. I'm looking forward to this week's. And so I wanted to just point that out. I'm so glad, if nothing else, school is starting, and I'm so glad that we now will have something else to watch, because, we pick on baseball a lot, but there's no disagreement here. The Tigers are unwatchable at this point. It is really, you really have to be a diehard to watch them now.
I don't even know why you would. And then as the hat shows, if you combine the Pirates and Tigers, we may hit 200 losses if you combine both teams. I mean, talk about the agony. And the only good thing is that supposedly the Pirates minor league situation is better, because remember, the Tigers was supposed to be so great. Well, guess what?
Ranked 24.
It's not. Well, because they brought these guys up that were supposed to be the great. That's what really happened.
Yes.
A lot of these young guys that were making those, and now, and again, you don't want to bury anybody early in their career, but it's obviously not looking good. I did not watch the first Hard Knocks. The Free Press today, a little bit of a shock,
I don't know. I understand, and I know you are very hard on local reporters because they're very soft on the teams. The Hard Knocks to me is it's every. I've never watched an episode I didn't like. You get the inside story, so I really think that's. I think that's
you can't fault the show if nothing dramatic. He's listing all these dramatic things of like people being thrown off the team after domestic violence, or people get. But if the first 2 weeks of camp were just a slow minor, if nothing went wrong, if no one's getting cut, that's like a veteran. I mean, it's still early. You can't. What are you going to do? Make up like Dan Campbell chucking water bottles? And
the other thing, I mean,
and believe me, I'm all for the local media getting more.
Right. I mean, you're always on that page, but just like the Aiden Hutchinson, University of Michigan, Divine Child, Aiden Hutchinson singing Billie Jean with the team kind of jumping in with, it was a cool scene. It makes you smile. I mean, I don't know how that could.
It's nonfiction. If nothing dramatic's going on, it is what it is. You got to make best. I'm sure they filmed tons of stuff. And what they have is what they have. What are you going to do? Like, I'm sure there's probably going to be some good stuff, because this last, and again, I don't put any weight into a preseason game.
Right.
I don't, other than that fumble actually happening. And again, I didn't watch it. I just watched highlights. That is not a reflection of the team as a whole. Those guys that are on that field at that point are probably not making the team. 80% of the people on the field. So them giving up that last, it's not same old Lions. That's what we talked about this last week. Like, if you were at the end of that preseason game and like devastated that they lost, you don't understand how preseason football works.
Right.
Okay. Same thing on the other end, as me as a Steeler fan, like these people in Pittsburgh are going crazy about Kenny Pickett throwing a touchdown on the last play, thinking he was throwing, again, he looked good. Everything was great. He had 2 touchdown drives, but he was also playing with the last of the players. So I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, Big Ben's replacement's here." Like, you got to take it for what it, and I think most smart football fans and the coaches and the media know this. I would hope. Now if that was week 1 and that happened, then you could start saying, "Oh, this is a same old Lions loss." So, I mean, I would just say give it time. Again, I did not watch episode 1. I probably will. I want to watch the Woodstock thing anyway. So
like there's it's pretty cool. There's some banter between a couple of Lions assistant coaches. Deuce Staley, the other assistant escapes my mind. It's really neat seeing those two guys sort of banter back and forth. They're joking but serious, and they're really good friends, but they're competitive. It's really cool. To me, it's well worth the watch. I think the Free Press writer was a little hard on him on this one.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you can enjoy that. And then college football is right around the corner. Don't watch the NFL preseason games. We will be back next week. That next week is our last week before we go back to work. Because then we start having our PD days and whatnot. So probably going to Zoom still for a little bit because I start coaching. It's going to be hard to do any after school stuff. So I'll probably be Zooming at least through maybe into October.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is. Our busy schedules get even busier. So have a great week, everybody. We will see you next week.
See you at the Smithsonian, folks.
There we go.